Texas Governor Greg Abbott says the state will keep adding razor wire along the Rio Grande, despite the Supreme Court allowing the Biden administration to cut and remove it.
Every year, about 1.5 million people enter the U.S. illegally, sparking debates on its impact. Recent court decisions have stopped some border defenses, raising concerns among citizens. Illegal immigration strains jobs, services, and safety, while criminals exploit weak spots in border security.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're
This issue divides politics, with calls for both stricter controls and intense reform. Now, a new discovery on the Mexican border could change everything. Join us as we explore this breakthrough in immigration policy. Chapter 1. The insane hidden costs of the border. The highest court in the land, the Supreme Court, has decided to allow Border Patrol officers to remove sharp, coiled razor wire that was put up by the state of Texas along the border between the U.S. and Mexico. It's common knowledge that many people come into the U.S. from Mexico every day. However, a recent situation at the border is about to bring big changes to how people come into the U.S. from Mexico. We are going to dive into this amazing story that will make you rethink everything you believed about the border between the U.S. and Mexico. Keep watching for the unbelievable details. This situation started on Monday, January 22, 2024. The Supreme Court said it was okay for the Border Patrol, which is part of the United States Department of Homeland Security, to cut through the coiled razor wire put up by the Texas National Guard and the Texas Department of Public Safety. They put this wire along the edge of the Rio Grande at Shelby Park in Eagle Pass, Texas. The court's decision aimed to help federal agents enforce the laws about coming into the country and keep the border safe. However, Governor Abbott and the Texas government didn't agree with the Supreme Court's decision. They kept stopping the Border Patrol agents from getting into Shelby Park, which made it hard for them to do their job of enforcing the laws about immigration. To make things more complicated, the Texas National Guard and the officers from the Department of Public Safety put up even more razor wire in and around Shelby Park, making the problem bigger. To really understand why this is such a big deal, we need to look at the history and meaning of Shelby Park. Back in the 1980s, the City Council of Eagle Pass decided to name the city's public park after a former Confederate general named Joseph Orville "Joe" Shelby. This was a controversial move because some local history enthusiasts wanted the park to honor General Shelby and his Confederate soldiers who left the U.S. after they were defeated in the American Civil War. General Shelby and his men went through Eagle Pass and buried their Confederate flag in the middle of the Rio Grande before going into Mexico. This is why Eagle Pass got the nickname the Graveyard of the Confederacy. The decision to name the park after General Shelby has been a source of disagreement for a long time, and now it's at the center of a big argument between Republican leaders and the federal government of the United States. When the Supreme Court made its decision, the former President Donald J. Trump told Republican senators and members of Congress not to agree to a new set of rules meant to change the U.S. immigration system. He did this because he didn't want President Joe Biden to get credit for making a big change in policy during the election campaign. This set the stage for a big political fight that could change a lot of things, except for the governor of Vermont. The group of Republican governors supported Governor Abbott's strong position against President Biden's way of enforcing the U.S. immigration laws. They backed Abbott's use of things like razor wire, floating barriers, and other methods to keep the border secure. In reaction, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, made it clear that he believes now is not the ideal time for Congress to pass a significant overhaul of the U.S. immigration laws. He suggested that any changes should wait until after the election of former President Donald J. Trump on November 5, 2024, showing that the Republicans are using the immigration issue as a major point in their campaign. But not every Republican agrees with this plan. Mitch McConnell, the minority leader of the U.S. Senate, and Senator Mitt Romney have publicly disagreed with Trump's demand to stop any bipartisan immigration reform efforts. They see this as a critical chance to make lasting changes to the U.S. immigration system and argue that making immigration a mere election issue could ruin this opportunity. On the other side, President Joe Biden has called out the Republicans' game. He has offered to give up important parts of the asylum and parole system within U.S. immigration laws, asking in return for money to support border security, Ukraine, and Israel. Biden's actions suggest he believes the Republicans aren't truly interested in changing the immigration system, but are instead using it to try to win back the White House and Congress. In the middle of this intense political fight, the people of Eagle Pass are stuck in the middle. Their safety and well-being are at risk as their town turns into a battleground in a bigger political fight. The United States is undergoing major demographic changes, and there is a pressing need for substantial legal changes to ensure everyone is fairly represented and protected. In May 2023, the control of Shelby Park changed hands when Rolando Salinas Jr., the mayor of Eagle Pass, signed a legal document on his own that allowed DPS and the Texas National Guard to arrest and hold undocumented immigrants seeking safety at the park, treating it as if it were private land. The City Council of Eagle Pass reversed this move because of a public backlash, but was then reinstated in September 2023 with small changes. Understanding the serious nature of the situation, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security sent a letter to Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton on January 25, 2024. They demanded that Texas let Border Patrol agents fully access Shelby Park by January 26, 2024, at the latest. If Texas didn't agree, the issue would be taken to the U.S. Department of Justice. Nonetheless, Governor Abbott and Texas, along with other Republican-led states and former President Trump, appear ready to push this to a constitutional crisis for their own political gain, disregarding the historical importance of Shelby Park as a significant site from the Civil War era and the potential fallout from their decisions. The standoff between the U.S. government and the state of Texas is intensifying, drawing national focus to the events happening at the U.S.-Mexico border in Eagle Pass, Texas. The Supreme Court's decision to allow the removal of the razor wire has led to a standoff, with Governor Greg Abbott and the state of Texas defying the order, resulting in a surprising and extraordinary situation. Despite the Supreme Court's mandate, soldiers from the Texas National Guard and DPS officers are blocking the entrance to Shelby Park, preventing Border Patrol agents from entering. The fight gets tougher, and the rules are getting questioned. Get ready for more surprises that challenge old ideas. Chapter 2. Texas takes a 2.5-mile stand. The problem has blocked the carrying out of national immigration laws and has led to major worries about the safety and protection of the border area. In Shelby Park, officers from the Texas National Guard and the Department of Public Safety have been busy setting up more concertina wire, adding strength to the fences already placed along the edges of the Rio Grande. This type of sharp wire used by the military aims to stop people without papers from coming into the United States from Mexico, looking for safety or a new home. But its use has started debates and drawn negative comments from those who feel it's an extreme and harsh step. Governor Abbott and the state of Texas's choice to ignore the Supreme Court's decision has led to a big constitutional issue, affecting more than just Texas. It questions the federal government's power and damages the foundation of law. This act of defiance is not just a local issue. It has encouraged other states, led by Republicans, to back Governor Abbott's strict approach to controlling immigration. On the other hand, some Republicans have shown they don't agree with the approach favored by Trump. Speaker Mike Johnson of the U.S. House of Representatives suggests that this moment isn't suitable for Congress to pass a significant change in the immigration laws of America. His opinion shows the political thinking of Republicans who are getting ready for the next presidential race and the possibility of Donald J. Trump returning as president. Other leaders like U.S. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and Senator Mitt Romney have spoken out against Trump's wish to stop any shared immigration changes. They see the need to grab the chance to change the immigration system in America and argue that making immigration just a topic for election campaigns could harm the nation in the future. In the border city of Eagle Pass, Texas, there's a new twist that could change the whole situation of immigration. Texas authorities have done something never seen before by stopping federal U.S. Border Patrol agents from going into a public place where migrants often illegally cross the Rio Grande. This surprising move has caused a big conflict between Texas and the federal government, bringing up big questions about who has the power and control. Prepare yourself to dive into this unbelievable story that will question everything you thought you knew about the border between the U.S. and Mexico. Wait for the astonishing details that will surprise you. In the past few weeks, the U.S.-Mexico border has turned into the main stage for a tense confrontation between Texas authorities and the national government. The small border city of Eagle Pass, Texas, is at the heart of a shocking and never-before-seen conflict that has caught the attention of the whole country. It began when units from the Texas National Guard, sent by Republican Governor Greg Abbott, took over Shelby Park in Eagle Pass. This public space, close to the Rio Grande, has always been important for Border Patrol agents to meet and handle migrants who come across the border unlawfully. But Texas authorities have taken extreme steps to keep Border Patrol agents out of the park, messing with their work and causing big worries about the state's power over the national government. The taking of Shelby Park is a major increase in Texas's actions to stop the Border Patrol from checking and watching the border. This action has made many question Texas's power and what it means for the national government's control over immigration. Earlier this week, Texas authorities went a step further by stopping Border Patrol boats from checking the waters. This bold move has made the standoff even worse, leaving Border Patrol agents unable to properly watch and stop migrants trying to cross the Rio Grande. "They are stopping Border Patrol agents from doing our jobs," said one national official, who wanted to stay anonymous. The official also shared worries about how much power Texas authorities have over the national government, underlining the unique nature of the situation. This standoff's unique situation has led the Justice Department to submit a detailed report to the Supreme Court. The report shows worrying steps taken by Texas, supported by statements from local leaders and striking photos, demonstrating Texas's actions to stop federal officials from reaching around 2.5 miles of the border with Mexico. The Justice Department points out that Texas has put armed forces and vehicles to block Border Patrol and federal National Guard members from this essential part of the border. Texas's actions represent a significant increase in their efforts to hinder Border Patrol's regular border checks and emergency responses. According to federal laws, the Border Patrol is tasked with the duty to manage migrants entering the U.S. and decide their next steps. This includes whether to hold them, hand them over to another department, send them back, or let them stay in the U.S. until their court date. The border between the U.S. and Mexico cuts through the middle of the Rio Grande in Texas, which is a key spot for the Border Patrol's work. The takeover of Shelby Park has sparked a lot of debates. The mayor of Eagle Pass, Rolando Salinas, has openly said that the city did not approve the state's takeover of the park. Salinas highlighted that the city neither desired nor requested the takeover of Shelby Park, pointing out the poor coordination and communication between state and city officials. Michael Perry, representing the Texas Military Department, which includes the State National Guard, argued that the state's actions aim to stop illegal migrant crossings and limit access for groups aiding such activities in the park and around Eagle Pass. Perry added that since 2021, the Texas National Guard has been stationed in Shelby Park, setting up security checkpoints and temporary fences. People are caught in the middle of big fights and big rules. See how their stories show the bigger picture. Chapter 3. A Family's End at the Gates of Safety. The White House has strongly criticized the state of Texas for its recent actions regarding border control, particularly pointing fingers at Governor Abbott. The White House representative, Angelo Hernandez, expressed severe disapproval, stating that Governor Abbott is using the situation at the border for his political gain. He accused Abbott of engaging in actions that are not only extreme but also harmful, as they paint people in a bad light and put them in danger. According to Hernandez, these actions make the job of the Border Patrol agents much more challenging and perilous. One of the most controversial moves by the Texas government is taking over Shelby Park, which is just one of many strategies they've employed to confront the federal government's immigration policies. Under Governor Abbott's directive, Texas has adopted very aggressive measures to manage the surge of migrants. This includes sending thousands upon thousands of migrants to cities governed by Democrats, detaining adult migrants for trespassing, and adding severe security measures like razor wire and floating barriers along the Rio Grande. Furthermore, Abbott has pushed forward SB 4, a law permitting Texas police to detain, imprison, and take legal action against migrants for illegally entering the United States. This law has heightened the existing friction between Texas and the federal authorities. This specific legislation, which turns an already federally illegal act into a state offense, is now facing legal challenges from the Justice Department and various civil rights organizations. Robert Danley, a high-ranking official from Customs and Border Protection based in Eagle Pass, provided an affidavit for the Supreme Court detailing the negative effects of Texas's measures. He explained that the actions of the Texas government are significantly obstructing the Border Patrol's ability to patrol the Rio Grande and assist migrants who might need help. He pointed out that taking over Shelby Park has drastically cut down the Border Patrol's ability to watch over the area by an alarming 90%, which not only endangers migrants but also puts the agents at risk. As a result, Border Patrol now has to process migrants next to a heavily trafficked road, which increases the chance of accidents and injuries due to the cramped space and nearby fast-moving vehicles. Texas's stance has become increasingly clear as officials have openly stated their desire to prevent Border Patrol from arresting, processing, or transporting migrants from certain areas. The actions by Texas, especially preventing federal Border Patrol agents from accessing Shelby Park and managing the U.S.-Mexico border, have significant and widespread effects. This bold decision has caused a stir across the country and raised critical questions about the limits of state power over immigration matters and the federal government's ability to uphold border security. The takeover of Shelby Park by Texas and its impact on the Border Patrol cannot be understated. Since the Texas National Guard now controls the park, Border Patrol agents can't get to the sections of the Rio Grande where illegal crossings are most frequent. This severely limits their ability to stop and help migrants, which in turn compromises the overall security of the border. The decision to take over Shelby Park has severely impacted the Border Patrol's ability to monitor the area. Robert Danley emphasized in his affidavit that this move has led to a 90% reduction in their surveillance capacity. This significant decrease not only puts migrants in harm's way but also endangers the lives of the Border Patrol agents. Due to the lack of proper surveillance equipment agents are forced to handle migrant processing next to a busy highway, significantly increasing the risk of accidents and injuries. The dangerous conditions created by this lack of space and the proximity to fast-moving traffic are direct results of Texas's decision to take over the park. The Justice Department has reported to the Supreme Court that Texas's aggressive actions mark a significant increase in the state's attempts to hinder the Border Patrol's duties of patrolling and monitoring the border. By placing armed guards and vehicles to block federal agents, Texas is effectively hindering the federal government's efforts to enforce immigration policies and deal with emergencies promptly. Beyond the immediate effects on the Border Patrol's operations, the actions taken by Texas have ignited a heated political controversy. Governor Abbott's strategies, such as reinforcing the Rio Grande's banks with razor wire and introducing floating barriers, along with the enactment of SB 4, have faced strong opposition from civil rights organizations and the Justice Department. Critics argue that these actions not only unfairly target migrants, but also make the already difficult jobs of Border Patrol agents even more hazardous. The decision by Texas to politicize border issues has intensified the debate over immigration policy, creating a larger divide between those who advocate for stringent immigration controls and those who seek a more compassionate approach towards migrants. One night near Eagle Pass, Texas, a mother and her 2 kids were trying to cross the Rio Grande to get to the U.S. They were trying to find a better life but ended up facing great danger in the river. This sad event happened while Texas was running Operation Lone Star, led by Governor Greg Abbott, which made it hard for the Border Patrol to do their job because they couldn't get into Shelby Park. That same night, the Border Patrol got a call from Mexico saying some migrants needed help. They tried to get support from Texas officials but couldn't reach anyone. So, they went to Shelby Park, looking for help. At the park's gate, they told the Texas guards about the emergency, but the guards didn't let them go through to help the migrants. They said they would check it out themselves. Sadly, help came too late. Mexican officials found the mother and her 2 children, 33-year-old Villa de Sancha, 10-year-old Yor Ruby, and 8-year-old Jonathan Austin Bones de la Sancha, but they were already dead. This incident has made many people question the safety of migrants trying to cross the border. A sad event shows the real dangers of the border. It makes everyone think harder about what needs to change. Chapter 4. It's time to talk about the policies. The Texas Military Department later admitted they heard from the Border Patrol asking to enter the area but said the tragic event had already happened. The 3 migrants had drowned before they could do anything. The Border Patrol, however, insists that being able to go everywhere along the border is very important, especially when people's lives are at risk. This sad news reached many, including the White House, which shared its sadness and called for a detailed look into what happened. They also spoke out against Governor Abbott's actions, saying they were heartless, unfair, and risky. The spokesperson for the White House made it clear that the Border Patrol needs to move freely to do their job properly. This sad event worsened the disagreement between Texas and the national government. The Justice Department asked the highest court in the country, the U.S. Supreme Court, to let the Border Patrol go back into Shelby Park. They said Texas was wrongly stopping the Border Patrol from doing their job along a 2.5-mile stretch of the border by using armed guards. The drowning of a mother and her 2 kids in the Rio Grande near Eagle Pass has upset many people and started a big argument over politics and border safety. As more information came out, people from different sides gave their opinions and reactions. The family of the woman who died, Monica de Sancha SOS, had a small piece of good news. Her sister and nephew, Victor Antonio Bones de la Sancha, survived. They were saved by Grupo Beta, a group from Mexico that helps migrants in trouble. This one positive note does not take away from the overall sadness but shows that there can still be hope even in the worst situations. After the event, the Texas Military Department talked to the media, admitting that the Border Patrol had contacted them that night about migrants needing help. But they didn't say they stopped the Border Patrol from helping, only that the migrants had sadly already died by the time they were asked to help. The Border Patrol says they need to be able to get to all parts of the border without being stopped, especially when people could die if they don't. They think things might have ended differently if they could have gotten into Shelby Park right away. The White House shared its sadness over the deaths and said it's very important to look carefully into what led to this sad event. They strongly criticized Governor Abbott's decisions, saying they were just for show and were mean, wrong, and put people in danger. They said again how important it is for the Border Patrol to be able to go wherever they need to along the border to keep the law. Because of what happened, the Justice Department has started 2 legal cases against Texas over the Operation Lone Star border plan. These legal actions question whether Texas has the right to take over immigration laws, which is usually the national government's job. The Department of Homeland Security also sent a strong letter to the Texas Attorney General demanding that the Border Patrol be allowed back into Shelby Park. Governor Abbott directed all questions about the sad events in the river to the Texas Military Department, which is in charge of the Texas National Guard. People have been criticizing the governor because they think he's more interested in making political statements than in keeping migrants safe. This tragedy has made the disagreement between Texas and the national government even worse. Now, people are asking if it's right for the National Guard to step in during these kinds of situations. This brings up big questions about how we handle border safety and who should be in charge, the state or the whole country. Governor Abbott, known for his strict views on immigration, did not hesitate to use his power to deal with the many migrants coming into Texas. He made several big legal moves, one of which was Executive Order GA-37. This order told the Texas Department of Public Safety to pull over and check vehicles they thought were carrying migrants who entered the U.S. illegally. This action caused a lot of debates. Critics said it wasn't fair and could lead to unfair treatment based on how people look. But Governor Abbott stood by his decision, saying it was needed to keep the people of Texas safe. After this order, police in Texas started stopping cars and asking questions if they thought the people inside were involved in bringing in migrants secretly. People had very different opinions about this. Some said Texas was right to try to stop illegal immigration this way, but others were worried it went against people's rights. But Governor Abbott went even further by sending the National Guard to the border. This was meant to help the very busy border agents and stop more people from crossing the border illegally. Some people thought sending the National Guard was the right thing to do, while others were upset, saying it made the border feel like a war zone and could lead to worse problems. The more Texas did to control the border, the more it clashed with the federal government. The administration of President Joe Biden didn't agree with Texas's actions and took legal steps against them. The Department of Justice sued Texas, saying that what the state was doing was getting in the way of the national government's job to handle immigration, and that it broke the Constitution's rule that federal laws are more important than state laws. They wanted to stop Executive Order GA-37 from being used and stop Texas from doing similar things in the future. This legal fight between Texas and the Biden administration turned into a very important battle, showing the tension between state rights and national laws, especially when it comes to how we deal with people coming into the country. The argument over the border gets louder and more people are paying attention. Now everyone has to think about what's right and what's safe. Chapter 5. Judge's Big Call: Hitting the Brakes. In an unexpected twist, A federal judge stepped in and issued a temporary restraining order against Texas's new rule. This order stopped Texas from putting its plan into action. The judge said that the rule could be unfair to people and might lead to decisions based on race. This was a setback for Texas's attempts to control the border situation, leaving Governor Abbott and his supporters disappointed. Despite this, Governor Abbott didn't give up. He promised to fight back against the judge's decision and look into every legal path available to him. Meanwhile, Texas's bold steps were making news, but President Joe Biden and his team were also taking action. They quickly came up with their own legal strategies in response to what Texas was doing, preparing for a big showdown over how the country handles immigration. Attorney General Merrick Garland and the Department of Justice sued Texas. They said Texas's new rule was getting in the way of the federal government's job to manage immigration. They argued that according to the Supremacy Clause in the Constitution, the federal laws are more important than state laws when it comes to immigration. This lawsuit turned into a big fight over different beliefs. Texas said it was just trying to keep its people safe and manage immigration on its own, while the Biden administration said handling immigration was the federal government's job, and Texas was going too far. As this legal fight was happening, the Biden administration didn't just stand by. They started taking steps to help the situation at Eagle Pass, a place with a lot of migrant activity. The Department of Homeland Security, led by Secretary Alejandra Mayorkas, created a special group aimed at solving the problems with so many migrants coming to the border. This group was supposed to help different government departments work together better and find a good way to handle the border crisis. But the Biden administration wanted to do more than just manage the immediate problems. They looked at the bigger picture, trying to understand why so many people were leaving Central America to come to the U.S. The administration suggested spending $4 billion to help fix economic and social problems in these countries. They hoped that by making life better there, fewer people would feel the need to leave their homes for the U.S. People had different opinions about this plan, but the Biden administration stood by it, believing in a kinder, more complete way of dealing with immigration. President Biden talked about how the U.S. should have an immigration system that is fair and kind, one that treats people with respect and upholds human rights. While all this was going on, a group called Take Our Border Back was forming. This group was started by 6 people who were very worried about the safety of America's borders. One of the leaders was Kim Yater, who believes strongly in self-empowerment and is against voter fraud. These people came together because they were all concerned about what they see as a plan by globalists to keep U.S. borders open and harm the country. They were determined to fight back and show the Biden administration that they wanted stronger border security. They created a website and called for a wide range of people to join their movement. They wanted active and retired police and military, mama bears, local politicians, business owners, farmers, truck drivers, motorcyclists, journalists, and any American who loves freedom and follows the law to stand with them in their cause. Recent happenings have made the situation more tense between Texas and the national government about who has control over the border. The Supreme Court decided that the national government is in charge of the border, saying it can remove the barbed wire Texas put up. But Texas insists on sticking to its plan, claiming the national government is not keeping its promises to the states. As the argument gets more heated, the Take Our Border Back convoy has become a center of debate. The convoy's fundraising on GiveSendGo has really picked up, with people giving money because they want to protect their families and stand up to what they think is wrong. But not everyone agrees that the convoy means no harm. The League of United Latin American Citizens, LULAC, is worried it could lead to violence against immigrants and their own members. LULAC's leader, Domingo Garcia, has said that some people in the convoy carry weapons and have extreme ideas, especially about blaming immigrants and Hispanic people for problems. On the other side, Congressman Keith Self from North Texas, who supports the truckers, says LULAC is exaggerating. He thinks they're just blaming conservatives for things they didn't do. He says the convoy is actually a chance for Latino conservatives, part of a group called Lexit, to show their point of view. The convoy is starting from cities in northern Virginia and northern Florida and is expected to get bigger and stronger as it moves. The people running it have been talking about it in interviews and showing it on digital signs in different states, getting attention from people all over the country. Is the standoff at Shelby Park a sign of deeper national divides, or is there a path to resolution that we're missing? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights into America's most pressing issues.